So we continue our coverage this morning on independent candidates who will be for the first time in South Africa able to contest for seats in the National Assembly. 5 national candidates and since provincial candidates are approved by the IEC. Earlier this week we spoke to 2 of the national candidates, Zaki Ahmad from the Western Cape and former boxer champion as well, Love Mondo from Limpopo. This morning we bring in another candidate from the national list, also from Limpopo. We are joined by Ntakadzeni Faith Phathela to tell us more about her campaign as we build up to the 2024 elections. Faith, good morning to you. Firstly, congratulations on making that candidate list. It certainly was not an easy feat. Tell us a little bit about yourself and also why it was that you decided to run for a seat in the National Assembly.
Good day, Naledi, and good day to all the people of South Africa. I am Minister Faith Phathela from Africa's Eden, and there's a calling upon my life to serve the nations as a member of parliament. In 2022, God said, avail yourself to serve the nations as a member of parliament. Go and make policies that will make people say, Umnandi, South Africa. So by profession, I'm a registered government auditor, and also I am the continental president of Africa Break the Silence, where we are empowering youth to make better life choices. So Naledi, this is a calling for me to come and serve the people and to be an answer to their prayers.
You talk about God giving you the message to run to become a member of parliament. Before we get into some of your policies, I'm keen to hear your views on, the Constitution of South Africa recognizing that South Africa certainly is a multi-faith nation. I mean, how would you then deal with leadership in a country that does believe itself to be a multi-faith nation? In some cases, people even not having a faith, not believing in God.
That is true. So basically, as I'm going to Parliament, God is sending me as a sample of what it's like to be a child of God. And basically, I'm going to Parliament to advertise the kingdom of God. And as you're talking about faith, we all know that in South Africa, majority of us are Christians. So Jesus is a gentleman. He does not force himself on people. He shelters people to come to him. So basically, we're going there to represent God. And also, as we're representing God, in a country, a country is like a home. So in a home, you cannot accommodate everyone. So even in a country as well, as much as we want everyone to come and stay in our country, but we need to have rules and also laws in terms of how we can live together in one country.
Yeah. Okay. So let's hear some of your policies, Faith. I'm really quite keen to hear of that. You talk about the government needing to pay its tithes. What does that mean?
Okay, so that's the policy you've chosen me to unpack. So, okay, the manifesto that I sent has got 16 policies, and one of them is about tithing. So basically, we're saying that as a government, we want to partner with God, because we want God to rule in our country. So as God is coming to be a partner with us, in a partnership, there is a share. And then God is getting 10% of it. So for God to get 10%, we can't go to heaven and give God money. It means we must give the throne of God that money and partner with the kingdom and partner with ministries in building the country.
Yeah. But can I just ask you, Faith, just to lift your camera a little bit, because we'd like to see you as we continue to have this conversation with you. Talk to us about what you have put in your manifesto about women empowerment. I see here where you talk about dealing with gender-based violence and certainly women empowerment. You say that the country needs a woman president. Explain that to us. Why, in your words?
All right. So this one specifically about women empowerment, it was given to me by one of my pastors. When I gave him my manifesto, he said, look, there's something missing in your manifesto, and that is women empowerment. And those were the words that he gave me that I adopted and I put there. So basically with that, he was saying to me, the country needs a woman president. And we need to look into that to see it in terms of the leaders that are there in our country who can then be appointed by the people to serve as a woman president. So I do believe that there is a woman president that's rising in our nation, and the nation must identify who she is. Because in the Bible, in Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, God was talking to corruption, and he said, I'm going to put a hatred between you and the woman. And I am the woman God was referring to in Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, because I hate corruption. I hate it. So I was born to defeat corruption, to uproot corruption.
Okay, let me ask.
The root of corruption.
All right, let me ask you this. Apologies, Faith. I'm just stepping in the interest of time, because you do have quite an extensive manifesto here. You talk about national crossover seminars needed in the country. What are national crossover seminars?
All right. So there's different types of stages in our lives where we are crossing over to new stages. For example, children who are in grade 7, they cross over to high school. Those who are in high school cross over to tertiary. We cross over to the workplace. We cross over to marriage. And we also cross over to the afterlife. What is the government doing about preparing us for the crossover? Whether it's crossing over to primary school, to high school, to tertiary, to the work life, to marriage, and even to the afterlife. So, as a leader in government, I don't only want to give people water to drink. I also want to give people the water of life, to help you to cross over whatever state that it is in your life, that we help you to prepare yourselves for whatever state that is coming.
What do you say then? I mean, you talk about government hosting crossover seminars to prepare people for the afterlife. Faith, how do you explain that to a South African citizen that isn't a Christian and doesn't want to participate in that sort of discussion?
Yes, so Christianity will not be enforced on anybody when we get to Parliament. Please be very clear about that. But as a nation, we need to prescribe to one God, to say, look, this is the God that we as a nation are prescribing to. There might be other gods, but we need to choose one. Because you see, if you are sick, you go to a traditional healer, they give you medicine, all right. Then you go to another doctor, they give you medicine for the same sickness. It might end up becoming an overdose. So you need to choose one doctor and say, this is the doctor or this is the faith that we, the people of South Africa, are going to prescribe to. And then that is the God that we are going to uphold. We want to mix with other things. We want to see him being effective in our nation. And then that's what we're going to go with. So when we have, for example, these seminars, we're going to have, say, for example, different speakers who are going to be there. But most importantly is to say, let us prescribe to one faith as a nation. Let us not mix and match different types of faiths. Then there won't be confusion in our nation. You see, you come to my house, I can accommodate you. But I will not accommodate you the same. There's the children's room, there's the main room. So even in our country, we cannot accommodate everyone in the same way.
Okay.
But we'll accommodate people as much as we can.
All right. I'm reading from your manifesto. It says, this is on children's empowerment. This is what it reads. Children's rights are violated when parents decide to pierce the ears of their daughters or circumcise their sons without their permission. Let us educate our children on the purpose of body piercing and circumcision and get their consent. How breathtaking it will be to have a special breed of girls who know they are beautiful without body piercing. That's what your manifesto says around the empowerment of children. Talk to me about you then propose a year of Jubilee and a year of rest, where you explain the year of Jubilee and the year of rest in your manifesto.
Okay, so I shouldn't talk about the children's one.
Yeah, no, go talk to me about the year of Jubilee and the year of rest.
All right. So as I said earlier, that me serving in Parliament is a calling. So basically what we are proposing to the people of South Africa is that every 7th year, let us have a year of rest. So this is something that I have copied from the scriptures. So now that doesn't mean that every 7th year we're going to stay home and nobody will work. We need to decide what is it as South Africa that we can rest from. For example, I say in the manifesto, how about we rest from paying tax on the 7th year? So what's going to happen is if we are agreeing that on the 7th year, we want to rest from paying tax, that means that we're going to give SARS a mandate to say, SARS, you need to collect enough tax within 6 years to ensure that on the 7th year, you give the land, you give the taxpayers a rest from paying tax. And that 6 years, you must be able to collect enough to carry us through the 7th year. during the 7th year, that will be the year that you want to take your pension because it's going to be tax-free. That is the year of rest. And also, SARS will also have enough time to then audit. Because now they won't be collecting taxes. They'll have enough time to audit us, to audit businesses and other institutions as well. So we're proposing that year of rest, that for example, every 7th year, no taxes from our salaries. And I'm also open to hear from South Africans, what else would you like to rest from? Because tax was the one that came to my mind. But there could be more things that you would like to rest from.
Okay. Should you make it into the national
Jubilee?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So the year of Jubilee, when we go to the scriptures, it talks about, giving back the land, setting the slaves free. A lot of people are slaves to debt. A lot of people are drowning in debt. And if the government could just stretch out its mighty hand and help people who are in those kind of situations and set them free, that's the kind of country that we want to live in, where we will be able to say, Kumnandi, South Africa. One of the other things that maybe you're not asking me about that's on the manifesto and very, very important was that God revealed to me, he said to me, our country doesn't have a name. I was like, okay, God, then what's supposed to happen? He said, our country doesn't have a name. You need to give your country a name. I said, I don't know the name of the country. He said, ask the people. So ever since I've been going around collecting signatures, I've been asking people, what is the name of the country? And all of them are giving me the same name. So, we have a right to a name. South Africa is not a name. We need to give our country a name. Even if we don't change our IDs, because we've got ID cards, whatever that ID is for the country, even if we don't change it immediately, because we don't know how much that's going to cost. But we need to know our name, because the name is the cover. With your name comes the blessing. And there's a lot of things and curses that have been there upon our country. I don't know how many 40 days fasting is going to take us to come out of those curses. But what I know is that if we take off that name, we also take off the curses. When we now wear a new name, we're wearing new blessings upon our nation. So that's one of the first things that we need to do when we get to Parliament, to give our country a name. We don't have a name as a country.
All right. I'm going to have to leave it there, Faith. Thank you so much for speaking to us. And I will be watching you very closely, certainly in the run-up to the 29 May elections. That there is Faith Phathela from Thohoyandou in Limpopo. She is an independent candidate, one of only 10 that are vying for some of the country's top seats. In fact, she's vying for a seat in the National Assembly.